Hi submarine friends, welcome back to watching me build my diesel electric submarine. So today is a project all about a safety backup system, and this is it. I have a whole bunch of these tanks from the fire department. They're certified and they're filled, which is really nice. So what this is my backup emergency air supply for surfacing. So I have different ways of surfacing, and one of those ways is to blow air into the forward and aft ballast tanks. And so obviously you need an air supply. So I have an onboard compressor, and that compressor maintains 160 psi in two tanks in the back welded to the side of the ballast tank. They're two 100-pound propane tanks actually. So I don't want to rely on that. I want to back up to the backup, so to speak. So this backs up that built-in air system, and I'm just putting this together to do a test on the second benefit of this tank, which you can probably already tell, is this emergency breathing apparatus. So this is just a scuba regulator that I've had laying around the shop. I'm going to obviously have to replace it because it was used for pressure compensating an electric arm that I built. So anyways, I won't get into that, but it still works. So it's good for testing. So let's just turn on the air here. Whoa. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. I think I have too much air pressure. Let's try that. There we go. Whoops. I preset the air pressure by putting a gauge here, but I must have bumped this on the way over here. So let's try this. Works perfect. So the idea of for this is, for one, I could ditch. I could just take this tank, unplug it here. So when I connect this system into the high pressure, or into the air system actually right here, I can just disconnect this. It's just like a air hose coupler. This way I can just take this tank and I can ditch out of the submarine and I have breathing air. So that's actually the biggest benefit to this tank. But again, this is for backing up the air system that's built into the sub. So I have to figure out still, let me just turn this off. I'm not used to this valve style. It's a push and turn. I'm used to scuba tanks. So I'm thinking that I would like to mount it right here, like so. It's kind of out of the way. And I can actually, because I have so many of these tanks, I can actually stack them and have two right here, one above the other. One is redundant to this one. I mean, I have the tanks, I might as well use them. I can rotate it a bit, like so that I have quick access to the valve. You want to make the system so that you don't have to think about which valve do I have to open, which valve do I have to close. You just want to make it so that you open this valve, you're done, and the system is working. So, and this valve here, which is the feed from the compressor, this is the feed from the air tanks in the back, but I'm going to tie it into this side because, excuse me, if I tie it in here, there's another valve at the back of the hull which prevents any kind of a leak coming into the submarine. You always have to have a shutoff. I know I say this in almost every video. You have to have a shutoff valve on every penetration. So valve back there, but I don't want to have to go back there, close that valve before I start using this air. Remember, it has to be really quick and simple. When you're in a stressful situation, it's not a good time to try thinking about which valve you have to deal with. It just has to be one valve and you're done. So again, I'm not going to tie it into this because I don't want this air to just simply go back into the back holding tanks, because then I lose all my pressure, and I don't need that volume going back there. I need the volume going into the ballast tanks. But I suppose when I think about it, if the air goes back into those holding tanks, it's still going to go to the ballast tanks, except you're going to have a pressure loss. I'll have to give that a little bit of thought. Anyways, the plan was to tie it in here, but maybe in here will work. And then I have the benefit of a gauge. Boop, 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 boop. Gonna have to think about that before I make this final connection. Anyways, I just need to know before tomorrow morning, because I'm going to go get all the parts I need. So that's the reason I'm working on this today. So another thing is, this hose is too short to the regulator, because I need to be able to sit in the pilot's seat, and this thing needs to be hanging somewhere so I can just grab it. I can reach down, turn this on, or this can actually be on all the time, as long as it's not connected here. So that's another thing I'm going to have to think about, because that's another step, and I don't want to make another step. So if smoke comes into the submarine, I'm thinking out loud. If smoke comes into the submarine, electrical issue, whatever, I need to turn this on, which means I have to get out of the seat, get down here, turn this on, which makes me wonder now if I should have the tank mounted up here so that I can reach that. I can sit in the seat and I could just standing it up, I lose a lot of space because it's a round hull. So you see, standing it up is not. I can rotate this regulator out of the way, but you see I feel like I'm losing space doing that. But hold on, maybe it's not so bad. Let's stick it in right there. If it was right there, I can actually tuck it in a little further. If this regulator is rotated out of the way, it'll go in another at least 2 inches. So that puts the tank right here. So we'll just put a marker on the floor, and then we'll lay it down, and we'll see what difference there is in space. Okay, so right now it's about 4 inches difference, but I can move it in 2, so I would lose 2 inches of space. But I could reach it. I could reach it from the pilot seat. If this regulator was rotated down, turn the tank, clock it that way, so the valve is pointing out to turn it on. I'm gonna have to think about that. I thought it was gonna be really simple, but it's just a matter of trying to figure out which way is the best. I mean, the odds of having an electrical problem, smoke in here, it's a pretty slim chance. So do we want to... You're probably thinking, why is he whining about 2 inches? Well, 2 inches of space in here is a lot, because, you know, I want this area to be as open and unobstructed as possible. So I'm going to stick with leaving it laying down, and it can be just like that. I'll get a coupler to extend this hose and some more hose. I will probably get a new regulator, but I mean, this is not for diving. This is just for smoke-filled environment, and I guess possibly ditching, which again is very slim chance. But as slim a chance as it is, you still have to be prepared for anything. And I can stack 2 tanks there easily. I could just make a plastic piece that goes on here and here, and then the next one sits on top. If it's cradled, actually what would work here is if I took a piece of 6-inch pipe, plastic pipe, and just made like a U that it sits in, because you don't really want to be bolting it down or strapping it down or anything, because if you have to ditch, you want to be able to just pull it out of there, unhook this quick connect from the air line that goes to that, and then you're in business. You can ditch. Now the nice thing is this submarine does not operate, the maximum I'm planning to operate it is 150 feet, so 100 feet. So very manageable. It's a manageable stuff. I'm not a diver, but I hang out with divers a lot, and so I'm quite up on all the stuff I have to know. I'm just not a diver. That's why I built a submarine. I think that looks pretty good right there. And what I'll do is I'll take the 2 best looking tanks and put them here, so I don't have to paint them. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some pipe, 6-inch pipe, which I might even have here. I only need like this much. And then I think we even have a scrap at our job. And then just pull it away from that exhaust a bit. That exhaust doesn't get any more than lukewarm, so I don't have to worry about the exhaust bothering the tank. But I mean, that looks pretty good. You know, I was just thinking when I came in here, this is my most favorite feature about this sub is my swing away. Nice. My swing away seat. I get in and out of this sub so easy compared to before. And then I literally just take my foot underneath this and I give a little lift and I spin it out of the way. Oops, can't lift it too much because it binds. And then you can slide that ahead and it tucks right out of the way. And then you can take the seat right off if you want and just put it wherever you want. It's fantastic. I love it. Just love it. So, okay. That was on my list of to-do list today. I have a pretty good to-do list. I want to do some touch-up painting in here today. That might be a bad idea because then it's going to be smelly in here. I should do it before the sub is going to sit for a while with the hatch open. I can actually leave the hatch open because I have my plywood roof that I built up top. So it rained last night and there was no rain on the hatch at all. So it works perfect. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mount it here in a PVC pipe section. I'm going to get an extension hose for this, and I'm going to plumb this. I have to decide where I want to plumb this, here or here. If I go from here to here, or even to there, I might need a check valve. Because if I disconnect this, then the air from here can escape. It would have to stay connected all the time. But then the only time it would be disconnected is if I take the tank out for a ditch. But do I want to trust a quick connect here and have it there all the time? Because that could get bumped. But if this is not turned on and it get bumped and loose, I wouldn't lose the air out of this tank, but I could lose some air out of my low pressure holding tanks. You see, there's 10 million scenarios that you have to think about when you're doing this. Well, what I can do, that's what I'll do. I can tie in here. You see, tying in here is really easy because there's a T already. But I can tie in here, and then I can put a 1/4 inch valve that I can leave turned off. And then when I need need the air from this. I just have to turn that valve on, and then this air is free to flow into the system. I hate adding a valve though, because it's one more thing. Mind you, if I need to use this emergency air for surfacing, I have time. That's the big thing here is this sub has a 72-hour life support. I don't have to get in a rush. If I'm tangled in the bottom and it doesn't want to surface and I need more lifting power to break free, I've got time. I can have a sandwich and think about it. So having an extra valve there is really not a big deal because I have time to think about it. And so let's say I empty this tank into the ballast tanks. Now there's quite a volume of air in here, even though it's a teeny tank, there's still quite a volume of air in here. And so at 100 feet, it's still quite a bit of lift, plus the air from the tanks back there, plus I can pump out the water out of my variable ballast tank. So I can have several 100 pounds of lifting force. And if I exhaust this air and I end up needing to ditch, well, I still have my second backup tank. So I'm covered. So I can always ditch as long as I don't mess with that air supply and only mess with this one. And I might find some extra real estate in here, like right down here, I can shove a third tank. So no shortage of air supply for emergency situations. Okay, that's what I'll do. I'm going to tap into this. I might even have the fittings here. I want to try and do everything I need to do now so I use up the fittings I have. So I just have to put a T in here. I can I'll probably T in here so that I don't have to take all this apart. So I T in here, just move the gauge, and then come out here, ball valve, and then plug into there. There's a lot of plumbing in this thing. And this is a simple machine. This is very simple. This submarine is so simple, it's like an army jeep. Okay, that's going to be it, gang. Ciao.